Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Aware, Relaxed, Connected podcast. Join me as we explore approaches and orientations towards cultivating the physical body, the internal landscapes, the mind, and our relationship with reality as a whole. I'm your host, Craig Mallet. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. I am here tonight with Denis Poisson. Denis is host of the YouTube channel Foolish Fish, I should say. And on this channel, he introduces esoteric concepts in a very simple way that I have found endlessly useful for my own practice. And he also reviews esoteric books of all kinds. It's mostly around themes of occult and magic and things like this, but there is some scattering of other things in there too. And just recently, he has taken to doing live tarot readings there too. So he is a man of many, many skills, and whether he knows it or not, he has influenced my practice to a reasonable degree. So I wanted to get him on, and I really like the way he presents things and the simplicity with which these seemingly complex concepts get delivered. So thanks, Denis. Thanks for coming on.
It's my great pleasure. I'm excited to be here, Craig. Thank you for having me on.
Anytime. As I kind of hinted at or talked about just before we hit record, most of my audience aren't super familiar with the deeply esoteric side of the things I do. But I've kind of been letting that out of the bag a little more recently, and lots of people are resonating with that strongly. My side of things, I come from a more animistic perspective that's a bit more like folky in its nature, a bit more just like I explore my relationship with the world through animism. So I haven't been personally involved in like the really technical side of these things. And so maybe you can give an introduction to what you do and how you interact with this other non-physical part of the world and your take on it, just to start.
For sure. I was an atheist, as many people are, for the first, let's say, 20 years of my life. And I got to the point where I was in a situation where I had a lot of time on my hands, and I wasn't sure what to do with this time that I had on my hands. I was studying hospitality management, which was extremely boring for me. Uh, and so instead of studying very hard the hospitality management that I should have been studying, I kind of passed those classes and just got the results that I absolutely needed in order to pass. But with the rest of this time that I had on my hand, I thought to myself, as an atheist, I should know what I'm talking about. And so let me just go straight to the source texts and and find out for myself what's actually written there. And what I'll do is that I'll grab a pen and I'll just underline all the inconsistencies and all the nonsense that doesn't make any sense. And of course, I did find plenty of inconsistencies and nonsense that made no sense whatsoever. But what I also found was that as I went through the actual literal Bible in its New International Version, which is a translation that I particularly appreciate, by the way, what I found was that what's actually written in there bears very little relation to what I'd been led to believe was written in there, right? By popular culture, by occasionally following my parents to church on a Sunday for Easter or whatever else, right? And so my idea of what I'd find in there versus what I actually found in there were two very separate things. And one of the things that I wasn't expecting to find was I discovered very soon that the figure of Jesus only appears about 3/4 of the way through, of course, right, with the New Testament rather than the so-called Old Testament. And one of the things that he says is that you should really have your own practice. I mean, I'm not going to quote the exact passage, but you can look up things like Matthew chapter 6, verses 5 to 8. And in there, he's literally saying, do this stuff on your own in secret. This is your stuff. It's not to be done in a big group with loads of other people. So I decided that, sure, I'd try this stuff out. And it turned out to work in freaky ways, right? In ways that really surprised me. And I go into a little bit of that in my YouTube channel in the early videos there. And you'll be able to see just how freaky the results were, and just so freaky that I couldn't just put this down to coincidence anymore. I had to work out what was actually going on there. Now, I didn't like the idea of just going, oh, this incredible miracle happened, therefore the church is right. Yeah. Definitely, having read the material for myself and realizing that actually a lot of the material is about saying how organized religion is a problem. Uh, right? I'm surprised how well that's been kind of camouflaged. Uh,
Mhm.
but nevertheless, I did want to work out what had gone on there, and so that kind of sent me into a spiral of learning a little bit about quantum mechanics and learning about something called chaos magic, which sounds really awful, doesn't it? But it's nothing to do with Warhammer. It's nothing to do with the forces of chaos or anything like that. It's just, it's literally just thinking of the universe as being naturally chaotic and as having all of the possibilities happening simultaneously until you observe them. And so the idea of pre-observing a future, helping for that specific future to be the one that comes into our present rather than any other potential future, things like
And
this.
this is where a lot of things like pop culture manifesting stuff comes from, right? It
Mm.
comes out of these uh, more obscure corners of reality.
Completely, completely. Yeah, exactly. And I'd experienced manifestation happening, but wasn't happy with the idea that it's just this magical idea. So yeah, just wanted to dig a little bit deeper into the mechanics of how it all works and stuff. And that's kind of what I've been sharing on my channel for the past 8 years. And I feel now like I've shared quite a lot. And I feel like going deeper would really dilute all of this stuff. So yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm thinking, okay, well, I can maybe let that teaching stand as it is, and start looking into other areas of my own human development, like things like relationships, like things like deeper inner work, like things like yeah, how I got fit over the past 8 months and things like this, right? Yeah, some new areas of exploration, but all informed by the magical practice that underpins all of my life. There we go.
Cool. I wanted to kind of lean into a particular topic because, especially where I live in Australia, we're in like the mecca of New Age spirituality, just along this
Mm,
particular part. I don't know if you know about Byron Bay, but Byron Bay is um,
I don't.
it's a ridiculous place. It's lovely, but it's like find the most outrageous New Age spiritual anything there. People completely unhinged, and it's just the whole place is full of that. And where I live is
Okay,
like
sounds like Californian.
yeah, I would say it's even worse. There's like internet community about how bad this place is. And where I live is like a close second.
Okay.
And so what I've found, especially with esoteric knowledge, is most reasonable people are interested, but shy away from it because of this kind of unhinged dive into occultism that lots of people do, like super, super ungrounded and just like believing the first thing they see and all of this kind of thing going on. So, first of all, can you talk to that a bit? And second, can you talk about how you keep yourself grounded in
Yeah.
these, like,
Yeah,
these worlds that are a little bit like, ooh, a little bit strange?
absolutely. A lot of what I talk about on my channel is about how your own spirituality has to be your own spirituality, right? I have a big problem with groups. I feel like any time a group is formed around spirituality, you tend to fall into politics a lot more than into actual spiritual progress. It then becomes about a club, and clubs are all about who's in charge of the club, right? And people then infighting about who should be in charge of the club, and how this person said that, and we should be excluding them from the club. And this is what happens with clubs. And religions have always been about social structures, much more than about actual spiritual progression. And the New Age movement is no different. It's all about who can be most visible, who can get the biggest following on social media, who can get the most clicks. And unfortunately, talking about the actual real stuff, it's complicated. It's and it takes a big effort, and there's no money there. Lon Milo Duquette, who's one of my favorite occult writers ever, said something recently that really resonated. He said, unfortunately, I don't have a retirement plan, and I can tell you that being a writer of occult books is not a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's unfortunately also not a get-rich-slow scheme. It's just... which is unfortunately absolutely accurate. You don't do this for the money if you're going to do it right, but there are lots of people out there who do it for money, and they do it right for getting money, but that's not the way to get you, the listener, educated and enlightened and involved in your own magical practice. If I'm telling you your own magic is the best magic, then I can't then say, yeah, but employ me to do your magic for you, right? And that's actually what a lot of the religions, including, and I do think of the New Age movement as a religion. It's mostly about that. It's mostly about putting your money into their pockets, and so yeah, it's far from ideal. I resent the New Age movement in the same way as I resent organized religion. I think that organized religion is the main thing that draws people away from their own spirituality. Yeah, I think that if it weren't for organized religions, people would reach out to the divine, people would reach out to a transcendent in their own way, and that would be wonderful. But because there is organized religion, people go, organized religion is evil, therefore the whole thing is evil, and they throw away the baby with the bathwater, right? And the same thing is happening with the New Age movement. Waving a crystal around hasn't solved my financial crisis, therefore magic is rubbish. Right? Yeah, it turns out waving a crystal around was never going to do anything except for put some money in the pockets of the people who sold you the crystal, right?
Yeah.
So there we go. That's my general thoughts there.
Yeah, cool. And the second question was, how do you keep yourself grounded in amongst all of these practices?
It's hard. I think that generally I have a deep distrust of most people who claim to be teaching anything spiritual. And so I have a few people that I've checked out very deeply that I have a deep respect for. People like Lon Milo Duquette, people like Josephine McCarthy, who has spent a lot of time creating the Querea.com full course, a full 10-year course of magic, basically, that she's given away for free. Why? Because the world needs magic. That's a good indication right there, right? That this is not being done for ego purposes or for financial gain or anything like this, right? And so I then look at who the people that these people respect might be interested in, and who they respect in turn, and things like this. Well, over the past 8 years, obviously, I've been reviewing a lot of occult books, and I've seen many authors that clearly are in there to cash a check, and other authors who clearly are coming in here from a perspective of having done the work themselves. and who genuinely want to share their material. I usually only review the books by authors who've got a genuine practice to share, a personal practice to share. And yeah, whenever I find what Jake Stratton Kent, the late Jake Stratton Kent, used to call dark fluff. It's DARQUE, FLUFFE. Yeah, so ye olde dark fluff. Yeah, we want to avoid that at all costs. Yeah, I think that it should be about doing the magic rather than being about being seen to do the magic, which of course is a great source of claiming power over other people, but not really a super thing to be doing altogether.
Yep. So I kind of, the thing I am taking from that, from what you're saying there, and something I'm a big fan of, I've even written an article about this, is that, like, keeping this skepticism, like almost like a scientific skeptical mind about it all, alive. Like, not just believing something because it had fancy words, and not just believing something because it was presented by an influencer, like actually looking into it and using this kind of skeptical mind to go, yeah, yeah, but what if, what else could be going on?
100%. But that's a double-edged sword. I also will read something like an outlandish claim, and I will make sure that I'm not closing myself off to the possibility that this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also a very difficult thing to do. It's to read something completely outlandish and to go, okay, I'm not saying no. Show me, right? Not just show me, but give me a way to experience this, right? Because this is another thing. Magic can't be proven. Yeah, you can't prove to someone else that magic works. You are the only person who can prove this to yourself by performing the magic and by experiencing the results yourself. That this literally the only way that magic can become a thing at all for anyone is when it is proven by themselves to themselves. And so yeah, so I'll try to approach these claims with an open mind and with rigor. Right. So, okay.
Right.
So tell me what steps I should take in order to experience this magic myself. And then I'll try it myself. And if it works, then it works. And if it doesn't work, then did I do something wrong? If I did, then I'll try this new thing. If it's still not working, then I'll be like, okay, well, okay, thank you for that. Moving on.
Yeah, yeah. Either it didn't work, or I can't make it work, in which case it's
Yes,
equally.
exactly. And this is another thing, is that just because something didn't work for someone doesn't mean it won't work for me. And
Yep.
also, just because something worked for someone doesn't mean it will work for me. We are the main ingredient in any magic that we do, and we are all different people. And so, yeah, magic that works really, really well for one individual will just fall flat for you. So it is about trying many things out and seeing what does work for you, and then making assumptions about what further magic might work for you. Yeah.
Cool. So my big interest on this topic, and I've gone down the pragmatic route as well from time to time, as I'm sure everyone will do at some point or another with these
Yes.
arts. But I've always been interested in this cultivation idea and this self-development or self-understanding, know thyself, know the world.
Mhm.
And one of the things I found with my first interactions with this was there was like this fantastical idea about how it worked. Part of me wanting to engage with that because wouldn't it be fun? And then another deeper part, more or less trying to do it to show that it wouldn't work, because if it works, there are implications at an unconscious level. And I quite vividly remember the first time I was doing some what we were calling travel practice at the time. And the drill was rather simple. There was someone far away across the planet, actually, drawing numbers on a bit of paper, and I would go into my imagination and imagine myself walking into the room and looking at the numbers. And, you can get these right and your mind can be like, yeah, whatever, you could have fluked it, you could have guessed it. And then you do it like 50 times in a row and you're like, but still some part of the rational mind is kind of coming up with a way to explain it away.
Yes.
And then the drill escalated and I drew an object I had never before seen precisely how the object was with like one mistake. And
But
I presumed coming into this that if I got this drill right, it would be like this big celebration, but it was actually like full of all this fear, like beware it working, because like my whole belief structure of how the universe worked was like torn asunder. And I had the
intelligible, isn't it?
bad thing there. Uh-oh. So maybe you could talk to your experience of that, because you kind of mentioned it a bit already. You went from this like atheist, kind of almost trying to disprove this stuff by investigating it, to accidentally finding it works.
Well, I can tell you the surprising story for sure. As I say, it's something that I've shared already on my channel, but I'm very happy to go into it once again. Just before we go into that, though, I want to talk to that reflex that we have of dismissing any magical results as a fluke or as coincidence, and basically our unconscious mind is primed to dismiss anything like this. Of course it is. And that's because it's received the information that magic is nonsense, magic doesn't work, for the entire duration of your life, or at least since middle childhood, right? When you work out that Santa Claus isn't really a thing, and the tooth fairy comes from the same place. And so on, right? So you've built up this very large stock of information that magic doesn't work. And so getting just one little piece of evidence that contradicts that doesn't really push the scales far enough, right, to replace that enormous belief that magic doesn't work. And so even if your results are striking, even if they're very, very surprising, very often the next day or a couple of weeks later, you think back on it and you think, yeah, clearly it must have been a coincidence. It's not possible, right? Well, this is what happened to me. I was, as I said, I was reading the Bible. I was very deeply immersed in this stuff for quite a long time. Bible's quite a long book, and I had got to the place where I was learning in the New Testament about how to get stuff to happen, and I found myself. I was a student alone in the UK. My parents were living in France, so I'd gone to the UK to study because I'd spent all of my childhood in France, and my mother's English. And my parents decided that it would be a good idea for me to study in the UK for a little while, experience life as an English person, which was half of my heritage. And so I was pretty much alone in the world then, and it was the year 2000. I didn't have a mobile phone yet. I guess I got my first mobile phone maybe the following year, something like that. And I had decided that I would spend the remaining £20 that I had on going to London and having a nice time in London. I was studying in the southeast of England, and so I bought a return train ticket to London with the intention of getting to London. I'd have just enough remaining for a £5 theatre ticket, a £5 entry to the cinema. Can you believe it was £5 to get into the IMAX in 2020? And maybe a £2 sandwich, right? or a 99p sandwich, whatever it was. Anyway, and that would be all of my money. I'd have nothing left. And when I say my money, no, that would be everything that I had until I hit the bottom of my allowed overdraft, right? So literally nothing left after this. I had a packet of bread back home that would last me the rest of the week. So no problem. I can spend this money. I desperately needed this because yeah, the place where I was studying was just was a pit. My uncle called it the armpit of the world. Um, and it was absolutely the armpit of the world, and I was in desperate need of just a bit of culture and a little bit of fresh air. So I bought that ticket. I got myself to London. I went to see Fantasia 2000 at the cinema. It was great. Spent the afternoon in the art galleries around London. Had a really wonderful time. Bought that 99p egg sandwich, and yeah, got a ticket to see the reduced Shakespeare Company performing the entire works of Shakespeare in 1 hour. And I thought, okay, my train is at, I can't remember what it was, like 10 p.m., right? The last train that would get me from London back home was at 10 p.m. And the show was starting at 8 p.m. So yeah, no problem at all. It'll finish at 9 p.m. That'll give me an hour to get to the train. But of course, yes, they did get through the works of Shakespeare in an hour, but there was also an interval, there was also additional material, there was also an encore, there was, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, the whole thing finished at just 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. And I was in the city centre and I had to get all the way to Liverpool Street. So the play ended and I just ran out of there. I didn't want to leave early because it would have seemed rude. Like, this is, yeah. I was 20 and definitely a people pleaser at the time. So yeah, ran out of the audience, ran down the stairs to get to the tube station, got onto the tube, got me to Liverpool Street with seconds to go, and I could see, I was on the tube. I could see I wasn't going to make it, and so I got to Liverpool Street, and yes, my train was leaving. So I'd missed my train, and so I yeah, no mobile phones. You have to remember, okay, this is not a time when I can just easily do anything about it, but also no money, right? So I really completely stranded. So there was a train that was going to Colchester, and I was trying to get to Clacton-on-Sea, which is a long way away from Colchester. It's about an hour. I want to say about an hour away by car. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, there was a train going to Colchester, and I might be able to catch up with the train that had just left because it was an express train. And so I got onto this express train going to Colchester. Sure, I was praying with all my heart. Like, I was praying so hard to please catch up with this other train. And we got close to Colchester, and the train started to slow down. I was looking out the window. Am I going to make it? And sure enough, just looking out the window, I could see that my train was just there on the platform, and so the train on which I was slowing, just grinding down to a halt. I was, come on, stop the train, just get there and open the doors. Anyway, so the train finally stops, and the doors open. And I run out, and I've got to run up the stairs of this bridge, right? It's like being in this nightmare. So I start running up the stairs of the bridge, and I'm running with all my might, and I can hear the other train start. So it's like, the screeching of a starting train.
Yeah.
I'm running, and I get down the other side, and just in time to see that train just gone. So yeah, sure enough, I had reached Colchester in time for the other train, but not in time to get on to the other train, right? Yeah, okay. So, absolutely devastated. And this is the last train of the night, and my ticket, by the way, is valid for until the end of that day, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I ask the guard, listen, can I spend the night on the bench here? And he's, no, absolutely not. We're locking up now. Get the hell out of here. Okay. So yeah, it's midnight by now, and I'm cold. It's March, and I'm in a shirt because I'm a stupid 20-year-old. Uh, yeah, yeah. So I leave the station and I start praying once again for a sign. What the heck do I do? I've no idea where I am, and I don't know Colchester. I don't have Google Maps because I don't have a mobile phone, and certainly smartphones haven't even been invented yet. So difficult times. And so I'm looking around and I'm thinking, yeah, like what do I even do now? Because I've literally got no way home other than my two legs. And I know that it takes an hour to drive from Clacton to Colchester, or from Colchester back to Clacton, as it were. Um, yeah, I better start walking, but in what direction even, right? So there's no one to ask. It's midnight, and the streets are completely empty. So I pray for a sign, and there's a plastic bag um, that's rolling around in the distance on my right hand side. So it's the only sign I can see. So I start walking in that direction. And within a couple of minutes of walking, I turn a corner and there is, in fact, a sign, like a road sign saying Clacton on Sea in this direction. Uh, I can't remember what the number of miles was, but it was a lot. Okay. So,
Like a 2 day
um,
walk.
so yeah, right. So I started walking and walking and walking and walking, and eventually I got to the highway. I got to the motorway, right? And so I started walking along the side of the motorway. And at this time, there were still some cars going along the motorway. So I'd stick my thumb out. No cars were stopping, and can't really blame them. Picking someone up late at night like this, it's not something that everyone feels comfortable doing. And so I walked, and I walked, and I walked, and I started to get kind of cold, and I continued walking because I had no choice, right? And after about an hour, the number of cars going by started dropping significantly, because at 1 o'clock, not many people on the motorway. And then and I was praying, I was like, come on, get a car to stop, get a car to stop. And no, nothing happening. And then about an hour and a half in, I realized that uh, I was going to need to change something. And some words from a friend came to my mind. These are words that had seemed kind of arrogant to me at the time, but I thought, you know what? At this point, I've got nothing to lose. I'll give it a go. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. There we go. Um, so, yes, this friend had basically said, when you pray, you've got to be quite specific. So I thought, you know what? I really don't have anything to lose. Let's give it a go. And so I did. I prayed that the car would arrive, and it would be a white car, a nice large white car with a leather interior, and there would be music playing, and the driver would be male and middle-aged, because that would make me feel safe and comfortable. It would make me think of my dad's car, and uh, it would be a smoker, because my dad's a smoker, and that would also make me feel comfortable. I mean, that seems like a strange request, right?
Yeah.
Definitely don't want to be walking into someone's smoky car, but that's what I've needed at the time. My dad always smoked inside the car, 80s and 90s. That's what dads did. At least in France, that's what dads did. And yeah, so that's what I was asking for. And yeah, it would be great if that car could arrive within 5 minutes. Because why not? Because if it can work, then it should be able to work within 5 minutes. And so I continued walking. And 1 minute went by, 2 minutes went by, 3 minutes went by, 4 minutes went by, 5 minutes went by, and I was like, oh, come on. Okay, no, that didn't work. But then there was headlights in the distance. I saw the headlights arriving, just getting closer and closer. And I thought, okay, all right. Let's take a look. And the car just came closer and closer, and I stuck my thumb out, and it drove right by me. And I thought, okay, great. But then it slowed down and stopped. Sure enough, it was a white car. And I started running towards it, but then I realized that there was writing along the side of the car. Of course, it was a taxi. And I thought to myself, I've literally got zero money. I can't afford a taxi. That's of absolutely no use to me whatsoever. So I ran towards the car and, waving my hands in a no, don't worry about it kind of gesture. The guy puts down his window and I go, I didn't realize you were a taxi. I'm so sorry. I've literally got no money. I've got a checkbook in my pocket, but if you try to cash it, then it's just going to bounce. Please forgive me for interrupting your evening, kind of thing. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. Just where are you going? And I said, I'm going to Clacton on sea. And he said, well, that's pretty far. I said, yes, you're telling me. I know it's pretty far, but yes, it's just a situation that I'm finding myself in. So that's where I have to go. He said, listen, just get in. I'm literally going to Clacton. I'm finishing my shift right now. That's exactly where I'm going. So yeah, just hop in. So I did. I hopped into this large white car and sat down on the leather interior of this white car. And I'm thinking to myself, this is pretty freaky, right? So he's got music playing. It's very comfortable. This, I don't know, I'm going to say 45, 50-year-old guy. And so he asks me, well, what on earth are you doing out at this time of the night? So I tell him the whole story, right? And so he goes, you don't happen to have a cigarette, do you? Well, at the time I was a smoker, so I took out a cigarette packet from my pocket and handed him the cigarette, and yeah, he lit that cigarette in his taxi right there and then.
Perfect.
So yeah, so he drove me all the way back. All the way back to my halls of residence, and I said, listen, please give me your card, your business card, or just any kind of detail so I can repay you. And he said, please don't worry about it. Just any time in the future you see any kind of charity for children, you can put in £1 for me. So I've literally been doing that every time I've seen children's charity since.
Excellent.
But yes, very difficult to come back from a situation like that thinking that was a coincidence,
Yeah.
right? I mean, one aspect of that could have been a coincidence, but that the fact that it happened within the 5th minute, right? The fact that it was a middle-aged man, the fact that the car was white, there was a leather interior, there was music playing, and that he was a smoker, and that he actually decided to smoke while there was a guy inside his car. Yeah, you don't recover from that with just
is an impact,
right? So of course, I had to look deeper into it, and it's been the focus of my life ever since, working out why this stuff works, working out the assumptions about the universe that we have to make that we're not currently making, within which something like this can even happen, right? Because if the universe is basically material and mind exists inside of a material universe, as most of us assume, something like this can't happen, right? Unless there are such things as superpowers. Okay. Except, why isn't it possible for everyone to engage with these superpowers and things like this? The much better explanation, at least better the explanation that satisfies me a lot more is to switch that basic assumption. And I'm certainly not the first person to have suggested this. There's a whole movement of so-called idealist philosophers. I hate that word, by the way. We can talk about that later if it makes sense to. But the idea of idealism versus realism. In common parlance, idealism is when you don't have ideas about how the world actually works. You're an optimist. You kind of assume that everything's fine when it isn't really fine, and things like this, right? And a realist is someone who's got their head firmly on their shoulders, who sees things as they really are. That's in common speech. But in philosophy, a realist is someone who does believe that the building blocks of the universe is material. Right, the prima materia, the main structure of the universe is the atom or the subatom, right? And that you get the right atoms in the right configuration, you get molecules, and you get those molecules in the right configuration, you'll get a structure like a brain, and that brain generates mind.
Yep.
Okay. That's the realist perspective. The idealist perspective is that actually the building blocks of the universe, the substrata, the prima materia, is mind itself. And this is something that Carl Jung suggested, right? It's among many, many other people, but recently, right? Carl Jung suggested that the prima materia is in fact mind, and that it's not that the material world generates mind, but rather that mind generates the material world. The material world exists within mind and not the other way around. Material world is an aspect of mind. And of course, if that is your main assumption, then it becomes much more reasonable for mind to be able to have any kind of influence upon the material world, right? Because the material world is a part of mind just the same way as everything is a part of mind. And you change one part of mind and it has ripple effects on every other part of mind, including on the material world. There we go. That's an overview of my philosophy, and the reasons for it. Yeah, there we go.
So how is this, like, besides having some fun moments where you've been pulled out of a tight spot,
Yep.
how has this shift affected your life, like day-to-day speaking? How has it affected your relationship with reality and with the people around you, and with the way you conduct your life?
In a very big way. Well, first of all, getting fun things to happen in the universe around you is just one aspect, right? Then there comes with that a certain amount of responsibility, and you can choose to embrace that responsibility or not, of course, but the responsibility is nevertheless there. And so I've taken that responsibility quite seriously personally. I started that YouTube channel in order really to disseminate some of these ideas so that people can use them for themselves. I do believe that this material is everyone's birthright, and that the blockages that are in place are problematic. And so, yeah, trying to make this stuff accessible, trying to make this stuff less scary, because there's a lot of fear around this stuff as well, right? A lot of you'll be damned to hell for the rest of eternity if you speak to this or that entity, and so on. Just really, really toxic, nasty stuff. And so, yeah, really, I've come to a point really in my life where magic infuses everything that I do. I think of everything as a magic process. I think of life as an alchemical process, as literally a process of taking whatever we get into our life with and transforming that through putting ourselves through difficult situations, willingly or unwillingly, by the way, and then coming out the other side having grown in some way. So I do see my life as a process of growth, and I do see my responsibility as helping other people with their own process of growth. And yes, and recently that's come in rather painful ways, but growth always comes with some pain. I'm sure that anyone who's hit the gym knows all about that.
Yeah.
Um, yes, so at the end of at the beginning of this year, my wife and I decided to part ways, and that was quite a difficult process, but a process that has taught me more, of course, naturally, right, than I've learned in a very, very long time. I've really developed myself this year in ways that I had really not developed myself since my early 20s. Um, and so I've got a much better understanding now of things like relationship dynamics, right? Something that I'd completely no idea about going into my marriage, and now I feel like I've learned literally so much over the past 8 months that yeah, I'm clearly still at the beginning of my learning there, but um, but I'm clearly in a much better place with regards to my understanding of relationships than I was 8 months ago. Physically, I dropped 24 kilos in 4 months. That's 50 pounds. Yeah, in 4 months, I was badly overweight. I had not exercised in, yeah, I'm going to say 20 years. I'm ashamed to say.
That's a good effort.
Yeah, and yeah, between January and April, I lost 24 kilos, and put on muscle for the first time in a very, very long time. And yeah, did all of that at home. Magic was involved in all of those processes. For my physical benefit, I actually called upon. I've talked about the Christian aspect of my practice, but really, it's a lot more than that. I think of myself as a perennialist. There's some mishandling of that term, unfortunately, but generally, I think that the idea that there is a core truth that runs through all religions is accurate in my experience. Having explored, subsequent to all of this, having explored many different religions, I do see that there are themes that reappear in all of the religions. Now, that's been abused by certain individuals by saying, therefore, all religions are really Christianity light. Yeah, no, that's not the implication. The implication is that Christianity is one of the many religions that says the same thing, and I'm interested in that same thing that all religions actually point at, right? That they all point to. And so, yeah, so one aspect of my practice is planetary magic. So I reach out to the energies associated with the planets, the classical planets, right, that are associated with the days of the week. So on Mondays, I reach out to the moon. On Tuesdays, Tus or Tyr was the Norse god of war. So I reach out to Mars. In fact, the name Mars appears in all of the Latin names for the days of the week. So in French, it's mardi, so M-A-R, yeah, literally stands for Mars. And then Wednesday is Odin's day, and Odin is the god of writing who received the runes, right? So that's mercurial, and again in French that's mercredi, so Mercury's day, right? Then on Thursday it's Thor, the god of thunder, so Jupiter. Friday is Freya's day, so it's Venus. And Saturday is Saturn, and Sunday is the sun. Of course, the moon and the sun are not thought of as planets today, but traditionally in the medieval tradition, they absolutely were thought of as planets, with the Earth being static. And a lot of magic turns out to be geocentric. Well, it's believed that a lot of magic is geocentric, but what I've discovered is that no, magic is self-centric. So yourself is the center of the universe, not the planet Earth, but yourself is the center of the universe, and everything else revolves around you in quite a chaotic way. The world, at least the planets of the galaxy revolve around the sun in a very ordered way, right? But they revolve around you in quite a chaotic way. And that's quite cool because, as I was saying earlier on, wherever there's chaos, there is opportunity, right? And there is options, there is possibility for interpretation and things like this. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think we might be getting off topic there for a little bit.
No,
Sorry.
that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I really like to share this with my listeners because I don't have such a formal practice myself. As I mentioned, I kind of just do a very personal version of this.
Hmm.
And I had some formal training that some of it worked in a technical sense, but a lot of it didn't just vibe with me as a person. And I found myself for like 10 years, I was studying like a maniac, like a proper maniac, doing 4 hours a day or more of this Taoist training, but I could never do the magic stuff. I would kind of tinker with it and try it and it would always fall away. And I couldn't understand why this discipline I could put into like the martial arts and the physical training and the Neigong and the internal alchemy and all the rest
Hmm.
couldn't be translated to these other operations. And once I left the school, it became blatantly clear that some part of my unconscious was like, no, that's not for you. You've got to go a different way. And that's where I started investigating your stuff and finding stuff that worked all of a sudden and that I wanted to do and that I engaged with and all the rest. And not to say the stuff I was studying didn't work. It worked really, really spectacularly well. Just some part of
Yeah.
me didn't resonate for varying reasons. Yeah, so I've definitely found that that resonance is super important, but maybe from like a like resonance aside, maybe from like a pragmatic point of view, for someone who doesn't know what this kind of practice might involve, like what does a Monday reaching out to the moon
Shit.
look like? Just roughly, you don't have to give your personal details, but what might that look like? Is it a meditation? Is there physical preparation of a space to do?
It can involve as much or as little as you want it to involve. Ultimately, I like to think of all the magic that I do as a relationship with yourself, a relationship with the world around you, a relationship with specific entities. And the magic will respond in the same way as any relationship responds. The more effort you put in, the better the results you're going to get. You know, you've got some friends on your friends list or on your WhatsApp that you reach out to maybe once a year to say happy birthday or whatever. That relationship really, it's not a strong relationship. Maybe it was strong at some point, but it's it's a relationship that's there so that you can say that you've not completely lost contact.
Yeah.
And then you've got some people there that maybe you're reaching out to on a weekly basis, maybe even on a daily basis, right? And those are the people in your life that are really going to be there for you, and that know that you're probably going to be there for them as well. And so, um, yeah, there are traditional ways for reaching out to entities where you burn incense. Why do you do that? Because the entity likes it. Now, is it necessary? No, it's not. But then, how much effort do you want to put in? Again, the entity might like a particular type of food. If you make that food for that entity, they're going to appreciate it. But if you don't make that food for that entity, again, it's not going to be a make or break thing, right? It's not going to be the end of the world, as long as you're genuinely putting in some form of effort, right? Not
And,
just,
and the,
hey, do this for me.
is it the sincerity kind of has to be behind it, right?
I 100% believe in sincerity being the main fuel for a relationship with anyone or anything.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, treating someone to a nice dinner out is going to be appreciated, but it's not the thing that's going to make the relationship. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, I like Josh Gadbois' take that if you take someone out on a really really nice date, right? You take them to a restaurant, you bring flowers, and you order some good food, and the conversation's really free flowing. It goes really well, and at the end of the night, you both go home together, and it ends really nicely, right? It ends the way you're hoping. Well, let's say that the following week you invite that other person on a date again, and you're hoping that the date will end in a similar way. Well, let's say that the process that you decide to go with is, well, I know that last time I bought these particular flowers. We went to this particular restaurant. So, okay, I'll buy the same flowers, make sure that there were 2 roses last time. Yeah, 2 roses, please. And then, add some crocuses or whatever it is, right? Make sure that the bouquet is the same. Let's make sure we go to the same restaurant. Make sure that we order the same food, and we're going to make sure that we have the same conversation, okay? Like, I'll try to remember the words that I used last time.
Mhm.
And at the end of the date, so yeah, they're not likely to go home with you,
Yeah.
right? Um, that would be super weird.
Mm.
And just because you're doing the same things doesn't mean that the relationship is being fostered. It's not being, it's the sincerity that matters before anything else. And so
Yeah.
that's the way that I reach out to planetary spirits and any spirit, let's be
Mm.
honest, right? Because I like working with angels. I also like working with demons for certain things, right? Which might sound a little bit worrying, but you definitely can do magic without involving these entities. Either of these entities, by the way. It really is about working with whatever you're comfortable with. Um, and yes, so if I know that it's Tuesday, right, so a day for reaching out to the god of war, that's a very uncomfortable thing to do the first time you do that. But then you realize the more you do it, the more you develop a working relationship, the more you reach out and say, hey, listen, I don't understand you. But listen, I've turned on my Philips Hue lights in a red color right now because I know that you like the color red, and I've just eaten a spoonful of a small spoonful of cinnamon because I know you like cinnamon, and I've got some black pepper ground in front of me right now because I know that you like that stuff as well, and I'm playing maybe Mars from Holst's The Planets, right?
Mm.
Gustav Holst, classical planetary music. So I know that you like all this stuff. I'm reaching out to you. I know that that I'm a little bit defensive right now, but can you help me to understand you a little bit better, and just spend some time just sitting there in all of this energy, and from your perspective, you just say out loud or in your head or whatever feels right to you. You might say something like, "Help me to understand you this week."
Mm.
That's all, right? And then when you feel like this has gone on for long enough, you can just go about your day, just clean away all the stuff. By the way, when I put food out for entities, I like to leave it out overnight and then just think of it the next morning as the empty shells of that food, and I just throw away whatever hasn't been consumed, kind of thing, right? Obviously, the entity's not going to eat the physical aspect of that food, but it's going to consume the energy of that food, and so
Yeah.
I just assume that food to be consumed already. The ancient Greeks would get young men to actually eat the food on behalf of the entities. There's a scene at the beginning of the Iliad in which that's described. So again, whatever feels good to you, right? Whatever feels like the right thing to do. And just because one person's doing one thing doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing another thing if it feels right to you.
Yeah.
And very often the entities themselves will guide you in feeling one way or another about doing one thing or another. And then you watch out over the next week about, you watch out for how your thoughts are changing around the concept of things like self-defense and about, boundaries and things like this. And you realize, oh, okay, it's not all about killing people.
Mm.
This encounter with Mars is helping me to understand the dynamic defense systems that I am not engaging with, and the fact that I'm not engaging with those is actually causing me a lot of stress in my life. So maybe I should have firmer boundaries about how people talk to me, how what I accept, what kind of behaviors I accept from partners and things like this. Right? Maybe I need to build up some s- some strength around asking for what I need and rejecting the stuff that is destroying me and things like this. And then little by little, you can start saying things like, "Okay, I'm having trouble with setting a boundary in this particular area of my life," and then just watch for inspiration. Oh, suddenly, oh, yeah, actually, if I phrase it this way, then it makes me feel good, it makes the other person feel good, and I get exactly what I want. Oh, thank you very much. And then you just next Tuesday you can offer some thanks for the inspiration
Yeah.
that you received, kind of thing. There we
Yeah.
go.
Nice. That's sweet. So that really, from the perspective that I work as well, brings a really nice frame for this, because I think these things can be like made to be too technical. Um, and and I always found it weird, like reciting stuff in very particular
Mm.
way. These days, most of my practice is healing and just offerings of gratitude. And I'll literally come by, and I've got my little place where I do that, but I just do it also, and I'll just be like, "Hey, thanks." Like I would say it to someone on the street or one of my friends or something like that. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the things you did for me that I knew about, and thanks for the things you did for me that I didn't know about as well. That's like, I'm sure there's been some help that I missed, and just thanks for all of that, and particularly with the inner work I do, like dropping into the heart and letting that gratitude of the heart really open up. Works tremendously much better than any of the technical stuff I ever did. And it makes me feel more connected with those things and those people. And I said in one of my podcasts, I'm not against a business transaction. Some of the times this goes down. We're just like, here's the money, I need the thing, do the thing. Sure, that can work, but that's not what most of relationship is about, right?
That's right.
And the worst thing ever is the high school person coming out of the blue, looking like they want to be your friend, and then they just drop a, by the way, sign up to my multi-level marketing you know, just you can tell they're fishing for something, right? And even if they're doing all the things right, that tone of fishing for something comes across. And so I try to encourage the people I talk to about this stuff to avoid that, like build an actual relationship rather than this like, well, what am I going to get out of it? Can I fish for something?
Exactly, exactly. Now, there are some entities that you're not going to want to build a relationship with, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about certain demons, at least. I like to think of these particular entities like I don't know, a nice simile that I heard recently that I appreciated was, let's say you need some work done on your home's roof,
Mhm.
yeah, and you go down to the seediest place in town late at night, and you find some tough-looking guys, and you know that they're going to get the job done. And also know that you're going to need to pay them, because if you don't pay them, then there's going to be some really bigger price to pay ultimately, right? But as long as you do pay them and you are careful, yeah,
Mhm.
you do have to be careful. You can bring those guys in, up onto your roof to do the work, pay them, thank you very much, and you've both got what you needed out of that short-term relationship. But you're not going to invite them into your home and have board game nights with them. Uh, yeah, because just because of the implications, you don't want to be sucked into their life necessarily,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, sometimes, as you say, a transactional relationship is exactly what is required for any particular given situation. But generally, the spirits that you're going to be calling to again and again and again, let's say your helper spirits, what some people call your allies. Yeah, those are spirits that you want to develop a healthy and mutual relationship with. Yeah, and a lot of the technical stuff. Is it all right if we talk about this for a couple of seconds? Like, where does this come from? Why are some people so obsessed with technical stuff? Well, it comes a lot from these books called grimoires, and the grimoires are essentially the working journals of magic practitioners from the past. All right, so very often it's 16th century, 15th century stuff. We've got a few working documents from between second century AD to fourth century. Sorry, second century BC, before Common Era, to the fourth century AD. In the form of the Greco-Egyptian magical papyri. I I think there might be some earlier stuff, workable stuff, should I say, from before then. But that in terms of magic compendiums that exist, I think that's the earliest stuff that at least that I've been working with. But a lot of the grimoires come from the 16th century. So they were literally working documents and memos, really, right? Notes to self by practicing magicians, um, ex- jotting down particular prayers that they were trying out and that they'd worked with and that had worked for them. And so they described their entire recipe for reaching out successfully to a particular spirit. Now, the framework within which these people, these practitioners were working was very much a Christian framework. And so reaching out to any entity that wasn't God or Jesus or the Holy Spirit. If you were Catholic, then maybe Mary and some of the saints, right? If it wasn't any of those, then you were reaching out to an entity that you weren't supposed to be reaching out to. And so you had to frame all of this in terms of, okay, I am a good Christian, and I am doing this from the perspective of binding this spirit, and I am forcing this spirit to do my Christian will, because I am on good terms with God, and this demon will do my will because my will is in line with the will of God, and I'm going to tell this demon off if it doesn't do my will, and so on and so forth. And so a lot of the technical stuff is it just comes from people learning from other people's working documents, which were written in a way to protect them from the Inquisition. Pretty much. Yeah. From this, we also get a load of angels that are absolutely not angels, but they were calling them angels in order to be allowed to work with them without too much trouble. But yes, so that's really where this technical stuff comes from. But it's, again, ultimately a mutual relationship that has been built over many sessions of reaching out, and in a genuine way. You can't beat that. Yeah.
So I want to just say, just on that topic, for anyone listening, if you hear this word demon or angel and something inside you goes like, oh, don't like those words and whatever, from a cultivation perspective, even if you don't end up pursuing these practices, I feel like it's a really good idea to like dive into where these reactions come from, because mostly they're in the cultural body. They're not a personal reaction. And they live in there just like upsetting you for no reason. So like, especially Denis' videos are really, really great on YouTube. He's got so many of them. I must have watched more than half your catalog. There's a lot of videos there. But they're really, really great at like just going, oh, do you know this that you just take for granted? It's actually just a reference to this one thing and it went popular for whatever reason. And getting a big archive of that in your head, going like, oh, the reason I know that the devil has horns and is kind of like a goat guy, and that hell is this place with like licking flames everywhere, is from one book. It's Dante's Divine Comedy, and these images started with that book and they just spread everywhere because the book got popular. And then, so these principles don't even exist before that book. So if they don't exist before that book, what's the reality behind them, and so on and so forth. And you can really like unwind a lot of habitual thinking about this stuff. And from the perspective that I pursue, which is relationship with the mystery of reality, it's better to go to this like, I don't know. I don't actually know. Um, oh, that looks like it's come from that book. And like, what is even a demon? I don't know, right? Or what is even an angel? I don't know. If you do these practices, you can connect with this entity. Is that entity what I think it is? Probably not. It's I don't know. So you've got to and you end up like gathering your knowledge from personal experience rather than from like cultural memes that have been stuck in the cultural body for 2000 years.
And absolutely. And by the way, you never have to reach out to any entity that you're not comfortable reaching out to. Of course, it's important to do your research on, if this entity is as evil as you think it is, and if you will, in fact, be condemned to hell for just having an interaction with this entity and things like this, right? Which of course, well, maybe not, of course, which many people think will in fact happen. I mean, how paralyzing is that? You don't have to fight that paralysis just because someone on a podcast said that it's okay to work with demons. No, 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 no. You need to know yourself that it's okay to work with that demon, right? And you never work with a demon if you don't think it's going to be okay working with a demon. So and this comes through research. It comes through learning, but actual research, right? Not just Googling it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some good stuff in Wikipedia, but at the same time, the surface level stuff can be a bit like,
Yes. Yes.
That seems like a nice spot to wrap up. Maybe just to finish, you can just let people know where they can find you, uh, what you're up to, if you're
Yeah.
publicly available to be contacted, and all of this kind of thing.
Absolutely. So my main website is www.foolishfish.net. So .com was taken, so obviously the fishnet makes sense. So foolishfish.net.
I'll throw any links in the show notes as well for people. So
That's great. And you'll be able to find most of my stuff directly through that website. You'll be able to find my YouTube channel. You'll be able to find where you can have a one-to-one consultation with me. I do video chats, right? You can buy an hour of my time, and I'll read your tarot if that's what you'd like me to read. But mostly people call me to ask me for advice on their own spiritual path, for their own spiritual practice. Because I know about so many different spiritual practices, I can listen to your story and recommend particular practices for you, but also books that you might appreciate and that might give you some enlightenment on some areas that are a little bit dark for you, right? That you don't have full understanding of. So that's one of the things that I do. I've started doing courses. So again, you'll find those through my website. On most Saturdays now, I'm teaching one class or another. On this coming Saturday, Saturday 6th, we're going to be starting a class on the magic and mysteries of Saturn. That's going to be 2 Saturdays in a row. And that is going to be about letting go of the things in our lives that aren't serving us, things like cord cutting, things like retrieving your energy from areas of your life that have been draining you, maybe, and just helping you to get rid of the stuff that's not good for you. And then the following Saturday will be another aspect of Saturn that we're going to be talking about, which is the area of manifestation. Saturn is directly linked to the material world. So we're going to be talking about how to get Saturn to help us with manifesting good stuff in our lives. What else? I think most of the stuff is really going to be on that website. There's a little oracle deck that you can buy there that I made based on fairy tales, like little sentences from taken from traditional Brothers Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales that works particularly well. And then yes, most evenings right now, most evenings in Central Europe, I'm on my YouTube channel doing live tarot reads, and people are sending in a little super chat, $5, something like that, and I'm doing they're asking a question in their super chat, and I'm answering their questions live on that on that show. So there we go. That's
cool.
pretty much what I'm up to right now. There is this magical retreat happening in September 2026. So you can find details of that on my website.
Where is that happening?
That's happening in the south of France. It's kind of an exclusive thing. There's only 6 spaces. You need to have come into a bit of money, I would say, in order to get involved there. But if you're feeling particularly wealthy, and you'd like to get involved with the divine feminine and the mysteries of Venus and of the Mary Magdalene and things like this, in the south of France, eating Michelin star-rated food and just having a very nice time for a week, going around the area of the south of France that's described in the later parts of the Da Vinci Code, and Carcassonne and Rennes-le-Château and things like that. Yeah, consider it.
The poor cultivation teacher in me is like, oh, that would be nice. And then I look at my bank account. I have to say, I have partaken in Denis consultation services myself and once for my wife just recently, and it is phenomenal. The tarot readings are very, very accurate and also very down to earth the way he presents them. It's honestly, I've not done too much of this kind of divination. I work myself with other people just because I've got to have someone who's actually connected to themselves properly before I'll engage with them. And Denny is definitely one of these people. He's the real deal. Can't recommend any of his stuff enough. Please check him out and book him in for a consult if you're feeling like that's something you would like to do. Yeah, it definitely. I did it at this. I think we actually spoke just as I was quitting or had quit the Taoist school I was a part of, and there was all this like, where the hell and what do I do? And your advice, I honestly I can't even remember what you said anymore, but at the time I remember it putting me or helping me stay the course that I was on, and not there was all this like hesitation to leave and go this way and that way, and it was tremendously helpful. So thank you for anyone listening. Please do take him up on any of these services. They are great. I suspect I will be checking out your courses at one time or another when time allows as well. So thank you.
Incredibly kind words, Craig. Thank you so much. I feel very, very moved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day as well to come on what at this point in time is a reasonably small podcast. Hopefully it grows, and I'm sure maybe with a little bit of help from your audiences too, we might see a few more people on it. I would like to definitely get you back at some point to go maybe deeper into to like after the audience is kind of used to us talking about weird stuff, we can go deeper into needed stuff instead of just on the basics. At some point, maybe in a few months, or something like this, it would be lovely to have you
Great.
back on.
Thank you so, so much for having me on the show. I've had a lovely, lovely time. Thank you.
Thank you.